Welcome back to Quiet Ireland. I'm so glad you're here. Tonight I want to tell you about the most loved story in all of Irish folklore. If you ask anyone in Ireland to name one old legend, this is very often the one that they will tell you. It has been told for so long and so often that it has become something like a piece of the land itself. This is the story of the Children of Lir. It's a long story, and it's a gentle, sad, and ultimately peaceful one. There is cruelty in it, but there is also endurance and love, and finally, rest. I think it's a good story for tonight, because in its own way, it's about waiting a very long time for peace to come, and it does come in the end. So get yourself as comfortable as you can. Let your body sink into the bed. Close your eyes if you haven't already. And let me take you back a very long time ago to the Ireland of gods and kings before the Ireland we know today. Long ago, in the ancient Ireland of legend, there lived a great lord of the sea named Lir. He was one of the Tuatha De Danann, an ancient magical people said to have ruled Ireland before humans came. Lir lived in a great hall by a lake, and he was deeply loved by his people. Lir's first wife had given him 4 children, and he loved them more than anything else in the world. There was Fionnuala the eldest, gentle and wise beyond her years. Her 3 brothers, Aya, Fiachra, and Con. The twins Fiachra and Con were still very young, playful and full of light. But Lir's wife died when the children were still small, and grief settled over the household like a heavy fog. Lir loved his children so completely and so fiercely that in time he remarried, hoping to give them a mother's care again. His second wife was named Aoife. She was the sister of his first wife, and when she first came to Lir's hall, she seemed at first to love the children as her own. For a time things were peaceful. The 4 children grew close to their stepmother. They played together by the lake. Fionnuala would braid flowers into the hair of the little ones. Aya would carry his younger brothers on his shoulders through the shallow water. The great hall of Lir echoed most days with laughter, but Aoife's heart began to change. She watched how completely Lir loved his children, how his whole world seemed to turn around them, and slowly, quietly, jealousy took root in her. She began to feel that she came second, that she would never be loved the way the children were loved. And in time, that jealousy became something much darker. One late summer day, Aoife told the children they were going to visit their grandfather, a great king, and that they would travel together to the shores of Lake Derravara to bathe before the journey. The children, trusting her completely, went eagerly into the cool water of the lake, and it was there, standing at the water's edge, that Aoife raised an ancient druid's wand and spoke a spell over them. The children felt their bodies changing even as they swam. Their arms became wings, Their skin became soft white feathers. Their voices, which had called out to each other in the water only moments before, became the long, mournful cry of swans. Fionnuala, always the strongest and wisest of the four, called out to Aoife, even in her new swan's voice, to know how long this course would last. And Aoife, perhaps feeling some flicker of the guilt that would haunt her forever, answered, 300 years upon Lake Derravara, 300 years upon the Sea of Moyle between Ireland and Scotland, in cold and treacherous water, and 300 years upon the Western Sea by the Isle of Inishglua, 900 years in total before the course would break. But Aoife, even in her cruelty, could not undo one small kindness. She granted the children one mercy, that though they were the bodies of swans, they would keep their own voices and their own minds, and they would be able to sing more beautifully than any music ever heard in Ireland for as long as their course lasted. When Lir learned what happened, his grief was almost beyond bearing. He rushed to the lake and found not his 4 children, but 4 white swans, who came to him and pressed their heads against his hands, and he understood. Aoife, for her crime, was coursed in thorn and transformed into a demon of the air, doomed to wander formlessly for all eternity. But that punishment brought Lir no comfort. His children were still gone from him, wrapped in white feathers, bound to water for 900 years. And so began the 900 years of the swan children. For the first 300 years they remained upon Lake Derravara, the very water where they had been cursed. And every day for those 300 years their father Lir came to the shore to sit with them. He built himself a small dwelling by the water's edge, so that he would never be far from his children. Each morning he would come down to the lake, and the 4 swans would glide toward him, and he would speak to them, and they would speak back in their strange, beautiful, sorrowful voices. People came from all across Ireland to hear the children sing. Word spread of 4 swans on Lake Derravara, whose song was so beautiful it could ease sorrow and calm anger and bring peace to troubled hearts. Kings and travellers alike would sit on the shore for hours listening. Fionnuala, though she wore a swan's body, never stopped being the eldest sister in her heart. Every night she gathered her 3 brothers beneath her wings to keep them warm, the way she always had, and she sang softly to them until they slept. Those 300 years, though strange and sorrowful, were not without their comfort. They had each other. They had their father, faithful and present every single day, and they had a lake that in time felt something like home. But 300 years is not 900, and when the time came, the course called them onward. When the 300 years on Lake Deravara ended, the swan children felt the pull of the course drawing them north and east to the cold, grey, treacherous sea that runs between Ireland and Scotland, the Sea of Moyle. This was the hardest of the 300 years by far. The Sea of Moyle in the old stories is wild and merciless. Storms came without warning. Waves rose high enough to separate the four children from one another for terrifying stretches of time, each one alone in freezing water, calling out for the others until they found each other again. There was no father waiting on the shore here, no dwelling built for comfort, no crowds of listeners drawn by beautiful song, just cold water, grey sky, and each other. One night a storm came that was worse than any before it. The waves grew so violent that the four swans were scattered across the dark water, each one alone, fighting simply to stay afloat. Fionnuala, though exhausted and frightened, called out again and again in the storm, her voice carrying over the wind, calling her brothers' names, so that even separated by the waves, they would know she was still there, still searching, still holding them together in spirit, even when the sea itself tried to tear them apart. By morning, when the storm finally passed, the four of them found each other again on a small rock, half frozen, exhausted, but alive. And Fionnuala gathered her brothers beneath her wings once more, the way she had every night since the course began, and she sang to them until they slept. Through all those 300 hard years on the Sea of Moyle, that never changed. However far the storm scattered them, however cold and cruel the sea became, they always found their way back to one another by nightfall. And slowly, so slowly, it must have felt endless. Those 300 years too came to an end. The final 300 years were spent upon the western sea by the small island of Inishglawr, off the coast of what is now County Mayo. This water was calmer than the Sea of Moyle, though still lonelier than the lake they had known as children. By now, nearly 600 years had passed since they had worn human skin. Everyone they had once known, their father Lir, the kings and travellers who had listened to their song at Deravara, had long since passed away. The very world above the water had changed beyond recognition. But the four of them remained together. That, through everything, had never once changed. In time, a hermit monk came to live on the small island nearby, and hearing their song, he came to know them, and he cared for them gently in his own quiet way. He would speak to them of a new faith spreading across Ireland, of bells ringing where none had rung before, and though the swan children did not fully understand this new world, they found comfort in his kindness. And slowly the 900 years drew to their close. When the 900th year finally came, the four swans felt their feathers begin at last to change. Their white wings softened, their swan bodies began slowly to return to something like their old human shapes. But 900 years is a very long time, and what returned to them was not the young bodies they had worn as children. They had lived 900 years, and in the final moments of the curse breaking, they became at last very old, ancient beyond any measure a human life usually allows. The old hermit monk found them there on the shore, no longer swans, but four very old people holding onto one another, and in their final moments, together at last in human form after 9 centuries as swans, he baptized them there on the sand in the new faith that had come to Ireland in their long absence. And it is said that Fionnuala, who gathered her brothers beneath her wings every single night for 900 years, asked that they be buried together in a single grave so that they would never again be apart. And so it was done. The children of Lir, who endured 900 years of cold water and lonely skies, sustained only by each other's presence and a song no one has ever quite matched since, were finally gently allowed to rest together. This is the story of the Children of Lir, one of the oldest, saddest and most beautiful stories Ireland has ever told. I think part of why it has lasted so long is because underneath the swans and the curse and the ancient magic, it's really a story about enduring something difficult by holding on to the people you love. Fionnuala never once let go of her brothers through storms, through exhaustion, through 900 years of waiting. And in the end, that holding on was what carried them through the rest. You don't have 900 years to wait tonight. Just a few more minutes and then sleep. Let your body grow heavy now, the way the swans' wings finally grew heavy at the very end of their long wait. Let your breathing slow. In through the nose, slow and full, and out, long and easy. Whatever you've been carrying today, however long it felt, however hard the day was, it's coming to its rest now. just like their long story finally did. You're safe, you're warm, you've done enough for today. Let it all go now. Good night. Thank you for spending this time with me at Quiet Ireland. If you love this story, please subscribe. I'll be back next week with more Irish folklore and gentle stories to help you rest. Sleep well.